Pearly Things sexualizes teenagers and then sings about Hitler. The left says down with home ownership and everybody will eventually rent and love it. Cannibalism is the newest taboo being normalized, and the New York Times is getting blasted for helping normalize it. And two leading presidential candidates may end up in jail. And from her thick gray locks to her bushy gray, Whoopi Goldberg is named sexiest woman alive. We're going to discuss it all and more next. Enemy territory here. Hello, hello, hello. It's Wednesday and it's time for Pop and Politics. We are live with the latest in hot topics, news, and entertainment. I'm KJ, along with my beautiful co-host. We have Yana, T, and Shelly E. Join the conversation by leaving a comment on YouTube or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. And don't just comment, subscribe. Subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. And you can check us out on our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com for up-to-date information. We are an independent news source, so please check us out there and donate. Any amount is appreciated. You can do that right on our website again at www.popandpoliticslive.com. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, ladies, let's set it off. So how is everyone doing tonight?
We're doing well.
We're fine.
Good. Good.
The weather finally got better.
Oh, yeah.
In Baltimore, it's not as hot.
Right. Well, I will never complain about the hot weather. I will never
Don't
complain.
worry. Don't worry. There's still the rest of August. So.
Right.
No,
right.
but it's cooling off. So
It's much
at night,
better now.
especially.
You can enjoy it now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
Enjoy the outdoors.
Well, breaking news just hit last night. So about Lizzo. So we've talked about her on the show in the past. But she's got a lawsuit filed against her. 3 of Lizzo's former dancers are suing the Good as Hell performer, as well as Big Girl Big Touring, Shirley Quigley, for allegedly subjecting them to endure weight shaming. Can you believe it? She's weight shaming, sexually denigrating behavior, and pressuring them to participate in disturbing sex shows. So apparently she was in Amsterdam and kind of forced her dancers to do some crazy stuff.
Like what?
It's like taking turns touching nude performers, catching dildos launched from the performers' vaginas, and eating bananas protruding from the performers' vaginas.
That either sounds like a really good time or
No.
the worst time ever.
It sounds like something that you need to be in your own bedroom doing. Okay.
Oh no, this is now. Well, you certainly wouldn't be doing it on your job.
No,
Okay,
right.
so this is the issue there. She had them doing it while they were working for her, and they, I guess, apparently didn't want to do it.
It must have been in
So they
DR
felt
or
like they were
Colombia.
pressured
Right.
into it because they're being paid and
Right,
probably a lot of money too.
Yeah.
So if you're getting paid a whole lot of money and you feel like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to get through this
Right.
somehow.
Yeah, and they felt
So
like there would be
that's-
negative repercussions if they
Right.
didn't join
Right.
in. And people co-signed this. And apparently, last night Beyonce had a concert where she had a song for Lizzo. Lizzo was named in the song. She removed her from the song. a documentarian who was scheduled to do a documentary on Lizzo and her tour, backed out apparently like a year ago. But then she said the reason why she did back out was because Lizzo had bad work environment.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell she's nasty anyway.
Really?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I was
you can
going
really
to say
tell
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
not that all fat girls are nasty or look nasty. I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that, but I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that
What are
she
you saying?
looks nasty.
The way
acts
she
nasty.
behaves, yeah.
Yeah.
She acts nasty.
So look, of course, I don't know Lizzo. I'm not even familiar with most of her music.
I'm not either.
But if you take it from an employment perspective, these people seem to have a legitimate case. And you said it was being co-signed, or there were other witnesses that kind of that basically alleged the same thing, or at least gave some credence to their charges. So if Lizzo is this, I don't know, this bad boss, then she needs to be reined in. But I still have a bigger question for the people. Yes, they may have faced repercussions for not participating, but it goes to the deeper question. Is there any amount of money that none of us will say no to?
Yeah, well,
That's irrelevant.
I think so.
Yes, it is.
It's like sexual harassment.
Yeah.
So if you have a boss who says, well, if you don't sleep with me, then I'll fire you or whatever, or won't give you this promotion.
Yeah, but I don't think it was.
But that's still
blatant.
money.
I think it
was that blatant.
Well.
Yeah, if they were afraid of repercussions, then there was some reason, maybe not that particular circumstance, but there was some reason prior that they had experienced harassment.
I don't know if she actually told them that you must do this.
Right.
I think it was more like a peer pressure, like
maybe.
And it's the culture of degeneracy.
Exactly. Which means they have experienced before.
You can see the kind of person she is, like you said, the way she behaves. And I'm sure her entire circle of people, they just degenerate. I mean, they decided to go to this type of performance. So I'm sure it was all like, yeah, let's do this. It would be fun. And like, I'm sure
they didn't expect bananas to be shooting out of vagina.
Or like eating them. Right.
Amsterdam does have one of those, I guess, seedy districts known for that. That district is known for those types of behavior.
So I have to say,
you can look it up. I've never been to Amsterdam.
That makes
I do
me
want to go.
Me too. Let's go together.
So that makes me think that these people who worked for her, they were okay with this kind of environment in the beginning. Right. So they were, probably enthusiastically said, okay, let's go see this performance. And now they feel, it went too far.
And not only
what's
that,
wrong with that?
Well, not only that, but let's talk about what. So they're saying that she had them eating bananas out of vaginas. When you think about it, when you eat a banana, it gives you a bad breath. Then you top it with the vagina. What is that? It's terrible.
It's a whole working environment, right? To have bad breath from eating a banana.
And I don't think it's fair. I disagree with Yana slightly. I don't think it's fair to say that they were opportunists, or whoever said that.
I said that.
And then Yana said that now there's convenient. I don't think it's fair, because anybody can be in a work environment. I'm just broadly speaking, and then there can come a time when your superior, your supervisor can or might put you in that position. That doesn't mean you signed up to that job for the convenience.
But this is Lizzo we're talking about.
I know, but I'm saying I'm on the side of the employees, the dancers. I'm on their side.
I'm just wondering, at which point do you realize that you went too far?
Right.
When you see the banana.
In the thing with the
when
banana.
When you see it shoot out, squirt out. What was the word y'all used that time years ago? Squirt, and I didn't know what that meant at first.
So when do you say, like, I don't want to do this?
We're going down different lanes.
Yeah. Later, or like weeks later, they thought it was too much.
No, it says here the plaintiffs claim that according to New York Post, page 6, the plaintiffs claim that just a month later, Lizzo, 35, deceived them once again into attending a news show. So she was tricking people, thereby robbing them of the choice not to participate. So
the choice of words here, and that's why I say it's too much. It's opportunistic, because they're like, okay, now we didn't feel comfortable all of a sudden after the freaking banana is all the way.
I mean, I don't know how do you trick people and go into a news show?
You don't tell them where you're going.
Would they blindfold them?
You don't know until you get there.
So you get in the car, your driver takes you wherever. And then, so once you get there, again, I'm on their side if this was the environment they were working in. But once you get there and you realize the people are naked and they're squirting out bananas from their pussies, maybe you might want to turn around.
Well, I mean, some of them did, and they were fired, and
Oh,
some,
they were?
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
well, see, there you go.
Yeah,
So we'll continue to follow it. It's breaking news, so I wanted to kind of talk about it, and just as an opening for the show. We weren't actually scheduled to.
So I got a question though. So the people who had the bananas in them, they were really women, or were they trans
vagina.
men?
Well, how you gonna
Were
put?
they dick
You can't put a
chicks?
banana in the.
I'm just asking because a lot of
Listen.
dicks think they're chicks now, so I just want to make sure they were.
Yeah, well, you can't put a banana in.
Oh,
It's not a hole.
You can put it in the other part, the other hole.
Oh
so.
my God!
Right.
Enough.
Yeah. All right. We will move on.
What they call them? Bussy. I've never heard that one.
Again, join the conversation by leaving a comment.
Put your children away.
Yeah.
Parental discretion advised.
Yeah, please. So again, join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook or Twitter, YouTube. We do check the comments periodically throughout the show, and we love our super chatters. So we do appreciate you guys who super chat. So if you feel like you want to do that, please go ahead, and we will acknowledge you throughout the show. All right, so we are moving right along to Just Pearly Things. We've never talked about her on the show, so
we never will again.
Oh, so Just Pearly Things is in the news. She is anti-feminist creator Pearl Davis deleted a tweet where she said 16-year-old girls are hotter than 26-year-old women after getting a strong backlash from the left and the right. Davis, who has 1.6 million subscribers on YouTube, rose to fame this year when Andrew Tate was incarcerated in Romania, racking up followers with content similar to his, championing what she called a male point of view. So they actually call her the female Andrew Tate. I want to get you guys' first response. I know you guys have looked into Pearl from Just Pearly Things. What are your thoughts, Shelly?
On Pearl, or just this incident in general?
And on Pearl in general.
I think she's silly. I think she's inconsequential. I think she's extreme. And I think this is why she has the attraction that she does, just like Andrew Tate, and maybe to some degree, the former, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. I don't think she should. I mean, people can do what they want, but I don't see why she garners as much attention as she does. Mm-hmm. I think she's largely, because what? Oh, no, go ahead. What'd you say?
No, what are you saying? What are your thoughts?
Because she's white, because I know plenty of black women. Well, isn't this the woman that has the white school or something like that? She have,
yes, she does have the white.
So I say that because there are plenty of black, well, not plenty, but there is a black white school that didn't garner this much attention. As a matter of fact, we were shunned because I was a part of it. And now that we have a white woman coming doing the same things, she's pearly white things. So it's a different perspective, and that's why she's garnered so much attention, because she's white.
Okay, well, that's a good perspective. I mean, she is she has a large following. She says she's a large following of the manosphere. So we've talked about the manosphere before, where they champion men's issues. A lot of them follow her. What are your thoughts, Yana, on Pearly Things?
Well, I think that she, like you said, Andrew Tate and others, I mean, she has a right to say what she thinks. But I do think that she's a bit extreme, and I don't know, it may turn against her eventually if she keeps on, pushing this extreme line. So I think that some of her points are legitimate, but she needs to be a little careful about how she words it. So I don't know if you want me to go into the 16.
Well, I want to talk about that. So speaking of her being extreme, she recently tweeted out that 16-year-old girls are hotter than 26-year-old women. That's what I said in the beginning. So it's kind of like sexualizing teenagers. I mean, I
can't. So that's her opinion. I don't agree necessarily, but I would have to say that maybe an 18-year-old compared to a 26-year-old. Mm-hmm. I mean,
an adult.
But what are you saying, T?
Not even. Well, first of all, she should not even be discussing how hot 16-year-olds are,
right?
Especially compared to 26-year-olds. But I would disagree with that because they haven't even come into their bodies yet. I mean, if we're talking about over sexualizing, I mean, I don't know what to even say about this, and if what's appropriate or not. But it's definitely nothing to be discussed.
Yeah, again, I think she does a lot of things for clicks or for fame or whatever. But I had equally the angst against her other comments about the song that she was singing about.
Well, before
Hitler.
you go into
Okay.
that, so we do have the clip of that.
Okay.
This is clip number 1 where she was being interviewed by Piers Morgan this last week, I believe. Take a look.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Pearl Davis is the self-styled anti-feminist influencer who's creating major buzz online with a contrarian view. She's appeared in a couple of debates on this show. It's called Uncensored after all. We welcome any honestly held opinions. But this week, she's facing a major backlash for posting a song titled Why Can't We Talk About the Jews, which she dedicated to far-right commentator Nick Fuentes before later deleting it.
Why can't we talk about them without getting kicked off of YouTube? Now, I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy, but I kinda wanna know why. Now there's all these conspiracy theories, and the more they talk, I think maybe they're right. But I can't even listen to the convo.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, look.
She has many talents.
So, I mean, what are your thoughts, Shelly, on the song? Before you begin, let me just say, she has preferenced this by saying this was free speech. And the song was about free speech. And what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm going to let you all know now, I'm probably going to piss off half of the people, and some of the people are going to agree with me. I think, I think she herself is a silly woman. I think she's goofy. And again, I don't know why she has this much popularity. However, I do agree with not censoring people. I do agree with her, her ability to sing that song. And I listened to the interview with Piers Morgan, and as much as I think she was making a caricature, if you will, using that song, but I still agree with the right for her to say it, sing it on YouTube or wherever else. The content, that can be debated, but the fact that she is able to say it, at least in America, I'm going to still stand on free speech.
What are your thoughts here, Yana? Do you agree with Shelly on standing on free speech?
I mean, yeah, I have to. If we don't have to agree with her, we don't have to follow her. We don't have to like her, but absolutely, she has a right to say what she thinks. One thing, I don't know if you have heard, I've heard her say that she doesn't think that women have a right to
vote.
Women should have never gotten the right to vote. Like that, I heard that from her, and that's an interesting, actually, point of view that it would be interesting to discuss, because in my opinion, I think that when women did receive the right to vote, they ended up voting for socialist programs a lot more than people were voting in the past. So she has a point on that.
So to any woman who advocates women giving up the right to vote, I ask them, when are they going to start? Start with yourself. Let me see if you do it. Let me see when you do it, and then you will have at least a little bit more credibility to me. Because any woman who advocates that, I think not only are they silly, I think they are foolish, and I think they're ignorant. By and large,
we're talking hypothetically.
I don't care if you're talking hypothetically or not. I'm hypothetically saying start with yourself then.
Right.
Well, I mean, I kind of
wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
Oh my God. Once women got the rights to vote, that's when feminism and all that stuff started. Because women, you give them an inch and they'll take a foot. And I just think that I personally would never vote for a woman. I mean, as far as like president of the United States, like when Hillary Clinton, I would never vote for a woman to run this great country of America. But as far as the lyrics and free speech, yeah, I mean, anybody else on the left, they can say whatever they want to say. So why can't we without being censored?
Well, one argument about when we say women shouldn't have the right to vote is they were saying initially you voted by household. And so they were saying that if you have the household and men are supposed to lead the households, then that is where they say people who support that argument saying you should discount women because the man should vote for your household.
So, for example, if let's say taxes, so women before they had the right to vote, they would not support higher taxes. Let's say because higher taxes, there's going to be less money for the family.
Right.
Let's say her husband is working, has a business, so she wouldn't be voting against him, against his interest. So, but then with the feminism rising, women realized, oh, so I can vote for higher taxes, and those taxes are going to go towards the social programs, and then I can leave my husband and live off of these programs, or ask for support. And so from just logically thinking, it snowballed.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think
so
they
let's-
left their husbands.
Yeah, and I was going to say, let's break it down. It's not all women, of course. I know you're not saying that. It's not all women. It's by demographic. It's by demographics. It's by income. It's by education. It's even by geography in some cases. So just to blanketly say that women should not have the right to vote. And feminism started before women had the right to vote. That was a part
They
of
pushed for
women
it.
exercising or at least wanting their equal rights, particularly around the issues of property. Property was really like the gist of it, the genesis of it. So the vote came after that. So to say that women should not have the right to vote, again, I would tell whomever woman tells you that, start with yourself.
And think about it. I mean, one thing I do advocate for is an educated voter population. So to me, I get upset when you have these people who are ignorant and don't know the issues, don't know anything about the United States, vote. And we have a situation now, and Vivek Ramaswamy has been championing this, where people need to take civics classes. That needs to be a requirement in order to vote. I am all for that, because we have an uneducated populace, and they're voting for situations and people that are doing harm to our country.
Right.
I would agree with that.
There's so many people who don't even know what is the capital of the United States.
Right.
So, and those people are voting.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
but it wasn't always like this. But I hear what you're saying. You're right. It wasn't always like this. Again, feminism itself has come in waves. So even, first wave feminism was totally different than what we have today. And the first wave feminists would probably be like outraged at what we call feminism today, or what is largely taken over as feminism. So again, it comes in waves. We have to break it down to just make this blanket statement, oh, women should have the right to vote because that's being traditional and we're conservative. Bullshit.
Well, let's take a look at what Pearl from Pearly Things said as far as her rebuttal to Piers Morgan. Take a look here. This is clip number 2.
I mean, the backlash to it. I mean, you deleted it. You obviously thought you shouldn't have posted it. Why did you do that? Genuine question.
I mean, the point was more about cancel culture and people getting kicked off of social media if you finished the song. It was more about, like, you can't talk about this topic without being canceled by the left and the right. I don't really have a strong opinion either way. It was kind of just like tongue in cheek. I didn't really expect it to get that crazy. It wasn't dedicated to anyone. I don't know why they say that, but that's not true.
Yeah, so I thought I did see she had and again, I don't know if this was a video that I saw prior to her taking it down that was changed in some way, but it did say dedicated to Nick Fuentes. So I don't know what she's talking about there.
But she said that she didn't do that. Somebody may have put that on the
maybe
poll.
I don't know, but she just comes off very goofy.
Silly.
Yeah,
She does look very.
Maybe she shouldn't be voting.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that she's getting as much attention as she is, because she's not really attractive. I mean, I would think that someone more attractive would get more attention.
But
maybe, I don't know.
I mean, she said things like women who aren't virgins, because the one thing we're supposed to be better at than men is purity. So the media personality herself is not a virgin, yet she says that a woman who is non-virgin on her wedding day is as bad as a man who cheats. She claims that a man's cheating is a woman's fault. I mean, she says some really outrageous things.
I'm also anti-feminist, so I get some of the things that she's saying. but like Yana said earlier, she may be like taking it a little bit too far. But that's what you do in media. You take things far.
I think she wants attention.
That's what you do to garner attention.
It's kind of obvious that she would.
I don't think she really means the things she's saying. When I say something, I mean it. But I don't think she means what she's saying. She's just doing it for the hype, the clicks.
Yeah,
right. And I agree. If she really wanted to present herself as this, like, I don't know, perfect woman, I would agree. She would look better than this.
Oh. She was very homely.
Yeah. Oh, she does not look like anyone would not want her on their wedding bed, or like
Kevin Samuels would eat her up.
Like young girls, would not want to look up to her for advice. I mean, she doesn't even present herself properly.
Right. All right. Well, we will continue to follow the story, continue to comment, and we will talk about your comments throughout the show.
It's hard that you're cute and submissive. It's hard. I am a man repellent. It's hard because all I do is go to gay events and drag shows and anything to make a buck, save a buck. Anything to make a buck. It's hard.
What's hard?
So this is our counter view segment. This is a segment where we take a look at something The View talks about and we counter it with what they say. Sorry about that.
We're in Baltimore City.
Yeah, we are in Baltimore City.
Real life,
right?
Real time.
Yeah, real time. Yeah. So this is Baltimore City for you guys who don't know. But again, they're gone now. The police sirens are gone. So yeah, this is the counter view segment where we take a look at something The View has mentioned and we comment on it. So this week they are talking about, again, feminism. So we just went from anti-feminism to feminism, but they're actually talking about how women do not any longer need men. Take a look at this clip.
A writer for Glamour says all of the congratulations she received after meeting her boyfriend made it clear to her that society still sees having a man as the ultimate goal in life for women.
We do. Right. I think that need is not I was just reading in the New York Times, I think it's today, that new archaeological information is saying that women back in the day, like thousands and thousands of years ago, were not just gatherers, they were also hunters. So the women didn't need the men then. They were feeding their families when they were hunting. And I would like to quote something that's been attributed to Florence Kennedy, remember her? But actually it was said by an Australian social activist, Irina Dunn. She said, "A woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle." I mean, we love you guys, but the truth of the matter is that we could function without
the bicycle.
So, but we do like having it. It's nothing better than falling in love with somebody. Whether it's a man or two men, two women, a man and a woman, whatever. And it's all falling in love. It's the most miraculous thing.
Companionship is wonderful. I just don't think, but spending time alone is great too.
Yeah. Well, you like to have both.
You'd like to have both.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I know, for women, if you want to have children, it used to be the case that you needed to have a man around.
That's not true
anymore. You don't really
anymore.
need that anymore, right? Like,
we just need some goodie that you guys have.
So
I'm burning up right now.
Firstly, I want to start off by saying I don't know about these old cackling ugly hags, but I want a man and I need a man.
We need men.
I want to start with you on this, T. What are your thoughts to that? Response to that?
First of all, look at them. Of course they're gonna say that. Most of the time, it's women who can't get men who make comments like
They're
that.
married.
Or can't keep men.
Whoopi's not.
I don't know if they're happy or not, but they are married. They've been married for some years.
Who? All of them? Whoopi is definitely not married.
Whoopi is not married. Joy is not married.
Joy is married. Sonny is married, and the lady with the blonde hair is married.
Alyssa
is not married.
I don't know if Joy is married.
Yeah, she is.
She is. Okay.
But my point is, men, we love you and we need you. The real women know what's up. So what I'm saying is, for them, it's not even, they're irrelevant. Because, I mean, they're women on The View. But however, there are some women that believe this. And they are spreading this nonsense to the women that believe to make them think that they're right and justified. But it's not, because, of course, the whole point of marriage or having men or society is to have children and to get married, have children, and prepare for your generations, your future generations.
Right.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Shelley. I mean, do you agree with them? We don't need men any longer?
Absolutely not. I do not agree with them. Absolutely not. So this is what I thought when they were saying. I thought initially they were going to talk about women who may not have a husband or for whatever reason, right? So I tried to give it a good feel to it that every human being, number one, has dignity. And whether you're single or married, you should have a purpose for your life, right? And you can have a purpose for your life as a single person. That's where I thought they were going. But these biddies took it a whole different way and said that men are irrelevant. See, this is the kind of foolish, harmful rhetoric that is ruining our community. I'm talking about Black community in particular. It's ruining our community. It's ruining our girls and our boys to a degree, because it's saying that, oh, you're not necessary. Have all the babies you want by as many baby mamas and baby daddies where they're not reared correctly and properly for the next generation. Our community, our generations, our children are the ones, again, being slaughtered and killed out. Not Joy's, not Sonny's up in Beverly Hills, wherever she lives. I find it offensive. I find it enraging that they would put this shit out and it's ruining our community. Right. And then they get to laugh about it. They don't experience, you just heard those police trucks go down the street. They don't experience what we have to live with every day. And this kind of rhetoric to say that our men are irrelevant, bull. It's bull. It's enraging. It is so infuriating because we have good Black men. I'm talking about Black men. And I know all of you white people, our listeners, I appreciate that. But I'm a Black woman and my community is the one suffering from this kind of rhetoric because these women get the limelight and they don't have the experience at hand in real life.
Yeah.
Shelley.
Yeah.
Shelley E. wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
All right. So we want to, it is actually, they are basing it on data. Before I get to you, Yana. So there is data that's gone out. NPR referenced it, saying how researchers are behind a new study. A team from the University of Washington and Seattle Pacific University, they've put together some study, and that says, they state here, as scientists often do, we are analyzing large numbers of them, Wall-Sheffer notes. Our goal was to go back to the original ethnographic reports of those populations and see what had actually been written about the hunting strategies. And so they found 79% of the societies for which there is data, women were hunting. Moreover, says Wall-Sheffer, this wasn't just opportunistic killing of animals that the women happened upon. The vast majority of the time, she says, the hunting was purposeful. So they're saying that but again, we are coming out with this new data.
For? First of all, what were they hunting for?
That's
like
true.
Possums?
Not only that, it's very, I don't know the word, I can't think of the word right now. It's very curious how they worded that. It says 79% of the groups that they studied, right? Not 79% of the women, 79% of all the groups. There were women who were hunting, which means that women were also trained alongside, in most cases, with the men of the tribe or the community. They had skills, yes. They knew how to hunt when they needed to, whatever the game or the animal was. It did not mean that they took the lead to go out and hunt for the family and that they were the sole providers. It's how they worded. And this is what academia does. Mm-hmm. They mislead with these catchy headlines and these phrases, and people don't know how, and I'm not mocking people, a lot of people just don't. They don't really know how to read at what we call academies.
Mm-hmm. And what really infuriated me from what they said, what made me really sad when they brought up the children. Mm-hmm. When at the end she said, we don't need men to have children anymore. So they're not thinking about the child's experience. We know, and they didn't talk about the studies where it is proven that children without fathers do not do well. They end up incarcerated at much higher rates. They do drugs. Exactly. They have depression, suicidal thoughts. I mean, so these women are totally okay with depriving children from a father figure because it makes them feel good in their feminism. You know, it's empowering. But that little child doesn't deserve a father.
In the women of the hunter-gatherer societies, I don't know of any evidence that says women were glad, or like you said, gladly took some, glee in depriving their offspring from their fathers. They didn't do that.
No, exactly.
So we're in a time where women are so selfish. They don't care about anything but themselves. They go and get their careers, and they put family on the back burner, and then it's like, okay, now I want to have a child just because I'm ready to have a child. I don't care by any means necessary. And then the men are like, and they don't know how to treat a man. They don't know how to be with men. They don't know how to have the families and be the center of the household.
And I'm sure when they need help, if they need protection or saving, they would want a man to be there.
That's why we have the 50-50 men, because they're like, all right, you got it.
So,
you do
like,
it yourself.
for example, if they're here in Baltimore, like in the middle of the night, and there's, somebody's attacking this lady, and, does she want another woman to come and save her? Or does she want a big guy to, come and protect her?
But again, a lot now, people are going back, as you mentioned, Shelley, and they're using this data, and this data comes from I don't know where, out of nowhere, backing up a lot of this leftist social justice political dogma, and then people who aren't very, like you mentioned, are not very well read in academese.
Academese. It's how they word things in the academy. It's how they word things, and then it filters down to the mainstream, a lot of times out of context. But what's also angering is that the academicians don't step in and correct it.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. I mean, even Black Conservative Perspective, this is a channel on YouTube that I follow, and many of us follow, Black Conservative Perspective. If you guys are not familiar with it, definitely check it out. He's talking about this actually today. He's talking about St. Philip's College. So a biologist there, a biology professor by the name of Dr. Johnson Vargas, was discussing how basic X and Y chromosomes determine biological sex, and the college fired him for preaching religion. So again, we have this whole idea within academia.
This is where
they are, not depending on science, not depending on years and years of actual proven information and knowledge and things like that, and they're coming up with a pseudoscience
because they have an agenda.
Right?
These are Marxists in colleges.
It's a religion. No, you're right.
Yeah, and so especially when the Soviet Union collapsed, these Marxists became, I think, even more enraged, and they wanted to really fight, the capitalism from within. So they infiltrated the United States, and they infiltrated the education system. So the people that you are referring to, these are Marxists. They don't care about facts. They care about their agenda, and they will wordsmith the science however they want for people to buy into it.
It used to start in college, but now they're targeting primary education.
Absolutely.
So they're switching over now.
Yeah, that's why I support organizations like PragerU, like Moms for Liberty, who are right there in K through 12 high schools and elementary schools, and really going after these people with facts and figures and basic knowledge and biology and things like this, because they're taking over and they're corrupting our youth. We do have to move on, but again, please continue to comment, share this broadcast, and subscribe to our social media, subscribe to our YouTube, so you always know when we post and update new content. All right, so we are going back to moving on, I should say, to Renter Nation. So we're talking about something that is happening here in Baltimore City, but actually is about to be spread throughout the country. So here in Maryland, the Abundant Housing Act, which Councilman Dorsey introduced to the council recently, would allow for low-density multi-unit housing in all residential areas of up to 4 units, depending on how much square footage is available. An additional unit could be added if the area is near a grocery store or mass transit. So this was reported on WBAL News Radio. Actually, Councilman Dorsey was there, said that the current zoning law is based on intentional segregation, allowing for some neighborhoods to create multi-unit dwellings while others cannot. Current zoning laws limit single to multi-unit conversion to only 2 zoning districts with only 15,000 properties eligible. So the bill would expand to more than 40,000 properties. So again, we're talking about creating an environment for renters. I want to get your thoughts on this, Shelley, before we watch the clip. What do you believe? Do you agree with this bill, or are we, leftists supporting renters?
Yeah, what it is, it's more government control. Now the government is going to be in the rent business, and they're going to be the landlords. It's nothing but, to me, it's an expansion of HUD. And don't forget, don't be mistaken, there is money that's pushing this in the form of taxes, or what we call grants, because it sounds better.
Yeah, speaking of grants, it's a White House initiative, Biden White House, Department of Housing and Urban Development program, where they're providing up to $10 million to jurisdictions who actually input this. So they have an acute demand for affordable housing and are working to identify, address, or remove barriers to housing production and preservation. So funding can be used for planning and policy initiatives and to allow for higher density zoning and rezoning for multifamily and mixed use housing, streamlining affordable housing development, and reducing requirements related to parking and other land restrictions. I want to get your thoughts on this, Yana.
This is reminiscent of what was going on in the Soviet Union at the very beginning of the Soviet Union, when the government took over the land of formerly privately owned. They took the land, the buildings, the houses, and they subdivided these buildings, these apartments, the actual apartments, the houses. So like a beautiful house or beautiful apartment would be subdivided between like 10 families.
Right.
So, and that was done, as to create more affordable housing. And what it created, it created very poor neighborhoods, perpetually poor, people living in cramped environments. The properties were not well taken care of. So, unfortunately, I feel that that's what might happen here, is that these properties will be dilapidated at some point, because it's renters.
It creates ghettos.
Right. It's not someone, if nobody owns a property, nobody cares about the property.
I guess your thoughts on this, T. Is this a good thing for Baltimore, or do you feel like it's not?
Well, so my father, may his soul rest in peace, as well as my family in Florida, received grants to build affordable housing. So from that perspective, I'm looking at it from the fact that some people don't have or can afford or have the opportunity to buy homes. So for those people, or don't want to, some people just don't want to buy homes. Some people want to rent. So I can understand, and this is what Democrats also. This is what they do. They create opportunities for the lesser people.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They create opportunities.
Can I finish my point?
They create opportunities.
Let me finish my point.
They create opportunities to take advantage
what I'm
of
saying
the
is,
people who have lesser means.
They do create the opportunities, however you want to look at it.
They don't.
This is what they do. They're creating opportunities for the people who can't afford, or people who don't want to afford it. And so what I'm saying is, so I look at it from that perspective. Like, it's for people who don't want to, who can't rent, who can't buy, who can't. Some people don't care about future generations and setting up money in houses or whatever for future generations, because they're living in the right now.
So why should the government be the the arbiter of that? If you don't want to rent, if you don't want to own, fine. You can rent wherever the landlord, wherever your income allows you to. The government does not need to be designating who can live in what house and how many families can live in one apartment or whatever building, again, at taxpayers' expense. This is not going to help anyone, except, you mentioned the Democrats, they create the opportunities to enrich themselves and have more power. That's the opportunity they create. It's not helping these people at all.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it does incentivize developers, and we do have a lot of developers within Baltimore City that buy up these homes. They leave them dilapidated. They don't do well by the homes, and then we have a large portion of them that are vacant.
Right.
Not only that, but as you mentioned, these types of renters come in. They do not have a connection with the environment, with the community. And they don't care about the community or environment, and then these neighborhoods fall to the wayside.
And especially if the owner, if they receive the grant, that's not really their property. That's the government's property. So, like, I understand a real owner who buys a home and wants to rent it out, but they're always there checking on it, making sure everything's okay. But if it's a grant, free money never creates good results.
So we're looking at Baltimore. We're in Baltimore City now with all of these vacant buildings, boarded up buildings. What good is it doing?
Exactly.
What good is it doing being boarded up?
It's not, but they got the money. The developers get the money, and not all of them in these houses, but some of them, especially the large developers, they get the money, they buy blocks of properties, and they don't fix them. They don't renovate them, but they do make donations to the political campaign.
Well, that's what I think we should do. So I think that here in Baltimore, we need to check who is donating to this Councilman Dorsey. Is it developers? Because this is who actually gets paid off of this type of stuff. He's talking about taking 15,000 from 15,000 multifamily to 40,000 multifamily units. That's more than doubling the amount that are currently here. So, developers are getting these grants.
Exactly.
And then they're pushing out all these multi-family dwellings.
That's politics, though.
It is, but it's not good politics for communities.
It's with taxpayer money. And not only that, when these developers, I just can't, I don't understand. Of course, I don't agree with you. It's taxpayers' money. It's not, the government is not responsible to fund your home, my home, any of our homes. That's not what they're for. So to give grants, again, this idea of grant, there's a grant for everything, and people get caught up in the word grant. It's taxpayers' money. I don't care if it's from the city, the state, or the federal government, and in between. It's taxpayer money that's funding these developments.
I want to take a look here. We do have a clip of a community activist talking about this. Take a look.
His theory is that by creating more rentals, you'll just attract more residents. But it's predicated on the idea of cannibalizing the existing single-family housing.
The Abundant Housing Act reverses the trend of manufacturing scarcity and codifying segregation.
We don't see how the Abundant Housing Act really tackles these issues, and in addition, we don't see how it's going to provide quality, affordable housing in the city, and people greatly need affordable housing in Baltimore City.
So those were two community activists who are very well versed in the act and talking about it. Last thoughts, ladies.
Oh, I have a last thought. Two things.
Of course you do.
I know. All right. Two things. One, the zoning laws, any city, anybody can attest to how difficult it is to get zoning laws changed. But yet this councilman, he can put in this big block change or block grant for developers almost instantly and want it done. You as a citizen, if we want to build something on our home, it takes forever, if you will, if you go through the legal process, and that's your home that you're paying for, okay? So that's number one. Number two, these developers have, like you said, KJ, no ties to the community. They are exploiting the residents. Again, Baltimore's population has decreased. Why are we building all these houses anyway? For whom? Who's going to occupy them? Where are they going to get the people from? Our population has significantly decreased over the last 10 years with the last census.
Well, that's because they have
you got me started.
They have all of the boarded buildings. There's nowhere to live. There's nowhere
no
for them.
people for them. Our population
Yeah, but if we have places for them to live, they'll come back. I know people that live in DC and they're like, they want to buy up in Baltimore, although they don't.
Well, why don't
here.
they?
Yeah.
because it's Baltimore. Baltimore has a bad
Well, then why they come here
reputation.
at all then?
The thing is that
To buy up the house for cheaper houses.
I'm all for a business person, any person to come in and buy, these houses that are probably not that expensive,
right?
And then rent them out. So nothing wrong with that. The problem is when the government says we'll give you money to do it, because then you do not know what kind of result you're gonna get. And I've heard that Baltimore is known as a nonprofit city.
It is.
Like everything is a nonprofit here. And look at it. Like it's been decades of this nonprofiting, of laundering government or taxpayers' money, and it's not producing the results. Just let the market do its thing.
Yeah.
Let people do business.
I agree.
That hasn't worked.
What
it hasn't worked.
It hasn't been tried here.
Yeah, I mean.
So where do you think the government gets the money from to do these things?
Of course, I know where government gets their money.
So
from.
you said it doesn't. What do you mean it hasn't worked?
No,
so how is government going to do better?
People buying up the properties for people to.
So how is government going to do better by giving the money to developers to supposedly develop buildings and putting all these people in them? That again, our census has decreased. So how is that going to work? How is that going to be better?
They're going to come back once they have the housing.
Where are they going to come from? Why?
To
live in an apartment?
Yeah. No, everybody doesn't want to buy.
Well, I mean, again, they're talking about more than doubling these amount of renters. So I don't know how that's going to affect the community. I don't think it's going to have a positive effect, but we will continue to follow this story. Please continue to follow us, comment, subscribe to us so we'll continue to put out content so you know when we post, and we're going to continue to follow this story. This is not just a Baltimore thing. I mean, this is going to affect liberal areas throughout the country. This is something Democrats are pushing. They're pushing for this renter nation, as I call it.
You will own nothing.
Yeah, right. You will own nothing and be happy. Exactly.
Yes, that's what they want to do. Free right to do whatever you want to do.
You will own nothing and be happy. They are already talking about, putting on requirements for water heaters and cars. I mean, this is just, our country is changing like you would not believe. So
they want a population that is easily controlled.
Yes,
so first, if you don't own anything, then you can be rounded up and shipped anywhere they want you to go.
And speaking of population control, next we're talking about cannibalism. So this is the latest taboo that the left wants to normalize. Yeah. Cannibalism has a time and place, according to a recent New York Times piece that was blasted for normalizing human consumption. They have here quoted, "I feel like the unthinkable has become the thinkable." And cannibalism is very much squarely in that category of unthinkable. This is crazy. So we've seen this kind of all over media, movies, like Hulu's Fresh. That was with the guy who played in Civil War from Marvel. Then we had Timothy Chalamet. He was in the big movie that was in last year, Bones and All, which talked about cannibalism. And then also HBO's Yellow Jackets, which is a big series on HBO that has something that talks about cannibalism. We're really seeing this push, and we know anytime something like this is pushed to the mainstream, there is definitely an agenda attached.
Already happened.
Happened, exactly.
Yeah. So you know how serial killers, they always leave clues? It's because they have this innate desire to let the world know what they're doing. So, I mean, they're not even hiding that they are actually we've heard of the left possibly eating babies. So, they're actually blatant out there saying that they are.
Yeah, in a society where cannibalism, when it was at its peak or at its height, we typically find, cannibalism, bestiality, perversion, particularly with children, pedophilia also on the rise. So it doesn't surprise me that this would be making a comeback, if that's what you want to call it. It is a perversion. It is disgusting. That's a personal thought, but outside of that, it's just a perversion. And we also find this happening in societies where religious values have declined.
Well, I mean, this isn't anything new. We've been seeing the movies about the zombie apocalypse for many, many years. It started with the vampires, and then it moved to the zombies. And we've been seeing this for a while now.
Right, but we haven't seen it normalized and romanticized.
Right.
So before it was something that monsters did, creatures, it was like, very looked upon as nasty and weird. Now, as I mentioned, with Timothy Chalamet's movie Bones and all, it was romanticized. Same thing on Hulu's movie Fresh. I've seen both of those movies. And it was kind of this romantic kind of screenplay. And it's become mainstream. It's become normalized.
But isn't murder then part of it?
Is it what?
Murder?
Well, somewhat, but they use it, but they talk about it in a way where it's something that the person cannot help. This is their true self. This is something that they cannot help. This is something that they do similarly to male attracted.
Okay.
What was it? MAPS?
MAPS, right.
Right. Similarly, trans agenda. All of this. It's love is love. If you love somebody so much, you want to eat them.
Yeah.
Well, wait. What are we talking about?
I mean, that's the bottom line.
What kind of eating we talking?
Like kill them and eat them?
Oh, kill them. Oh.
Yes. Kill them. Cannibalism.
Well, we're thinking the same thing, right?
Well, there is a certain type of cannibalism that's called vor. When you actually want to devour the person so that you can, from this feeling or that you think you have to have them. So cannibalism, strictly cannibalism, is when the person is already deceased, right? And you're eating them. Vor means that you devour them to the point that they do die. It's a perversion.
Yeah,
so
that was on Fresh. That was a part of the movie Fresh.
Like KJ said, the distinction was in the movies, it was always the bad guys or the zombies or whoever was doing it. It wasn't just your average human being. Now, if it's normalized, it becomes, that's just who they are.
And think about it. Even if it's somebody that is dead and you're eating human flesh, what do you think that's going to go to? Anytime you can go to that far as eating human flesh, that even if it is dead, then the next thing, they're going to be killing you to eat you.
Well,
they're already doing
keep that in mind. That's a good thought, because when I was looking up some things, cannibalism, where there has been cannibalism, typically speaking, it has been maybe in war environments. Survival. Exactly. Extreme circumstances, right? Where people, if you didn't eat the person that died, then you would die. Extreme. Now, again, what did we say last week? The extreme is becoming the norm. So everything has become, that's extreme is making it okay and mainstream. Perversion. That's all it is.
And that's definitely what it is, because I'm thinking, like, what in the world is happening? Like, we're calling out these things, cannibalism, the pedophilia, which is going to become normal, is going to be next. All the things that we've mentioned, like, this is the world that we're living in right now.
Well, and talking about human trafficking, when we talked about the movie about human
Sound of Freedom,
right? And so that's, I think, where they're getting their supply. Because if you have this fetish for eating a person, I mean, you're gonna go for someone who can't defend themselves.
Right. When we devalue human life,
exactly.
Abortion is on the rise. The left is pushing, shout your abortion, shout your. When you devalue human life, everything falls to the wayside. So yes, they begin.
Living in America.
Yeah. I mean, America is on the forefront of this. I mean, it's sad to say, but America is on the forefront of this. And when you talk about devaluing life, when you talk about not, human trafficking, doing terrible things to children, minor attracted, pedophilia is becoming normalized. Abortion, shout your abortion. This is next. Eat them.
Eat them.
Eat them.
And we're not talking about in the sexual manner. We're talking about literally eating people.
Yeah, but there is a component
Just
of
for the
cannibalism
record.
that is associated with a sexual fetish too.
What?
Well,
there is a component of cannibalism that's associated with a sexual fetish. It's called vor.
Oh, right,
It's a
but
type
she's
of- yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about.
no, just what I'm saying.
She's not
You said
talking about.
I mean,
You
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, she is not talking about actually chewing them.
No, I'm not talking about ripping you apart. I don't want to rip you apart. I'm just talking about like. Okay. This is like mental hospital stuff. Like this topic, like all of this, everything. It's like something that you would hear in like a mental hospital between mental patients talking about literally eating a person. And
I mean, we have crossed lines that should never be crossed.
Yeah.
And I've said it before on here. You know, anytime a man wants to go into the behind of a woman, he will go into the behind of a man. So,
what? I don't agree with that.
I do. Anytime a man,
but what does that do with cannibalism?
Anytime a man,
discretion is advised.
We need to put this in the front.
Parental discretion is advised.
Talking about, I was just saying that because we were talking about lines that have been crossed, you know, and transgenderism is on the rise, and anal penetration. When you're talking about anal penetration, you're talking about it's just an anus, so it could be male or
but
female.
It's tighter. So
parental discretion is advised.
We'll move on.
Tighter.
We'll move on. I don't know about that. Men go more than women. So
parental discretion is advised.
Speaking of shit, we're talking about the Trump indictment.
DJ wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
So we're talking about BS. We're talking about the Trump indictment.
I'll tell you.
So we're talking about Trump indictments, and we're talking about the Biden legal troubles. So according to the New York Post, former President Donald Trump was indicted yesterday in connection with his attempts to overturn the 2020 election result, with federal prosecutors charging he made knowingly false claims of voter fraud in a desperate bid to stay in power after his defeat by Joe Biden. The third indictment brought in 4 months against Trump, 77, that's his age, consists of 4 counts: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. Also, Mike Pence came out against him today, saying that he was not able to overturn the election and that Trump was feeling lies about that.
We knew Pence was the ops anyway.
So, thoughts on this lady, the new indictment? I mean, Shelley.
Okay, so I mean, probably much of the country, at least Trump supporters, I believe that this is part of the witch hunt. These people are hell bent from the time he was coming down the go out escalator until now. They want him out of office. They never wanted him in. They have trumped up, to use a word, so many charges. Now, again, having said that, the legality of the charge or the legal, just the whole legal shenanigans, I think they're serious. They're going to have to be given attention to. You can't just ignore them. But again, this is nothing but government corruption at its height.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Yana. I mean, Shelley did say they are serious charges. Do you take them seriously? And how's he going to get out of this?
They're serious, and I think that, like, I agree, it's witch hunt. They're afraid of him, that he is leading in the polls, and that is exactly why this indictment happens. However, I think that this is making him even more popular. So how is he going to get out of it? Well, maybe people will keep voting for him regardless where he is. Even if he is in jail, people are saying they might still vote for him. So people, like, if the more Democrats are afraid of somebody, the more we should be looking at that person.
I want to get your thoughts on this, T. I mean, this is the third indictment on Trump. Now, we all are Trump supporters, and we believe these charges are trumped up, but some of them are pretty serious. Do we take are we taking a risk by voting for him? He may be impeached.
Not at all, because I mean, Yana took it out of the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say it. I'm looking on Instagram. I'm looking at Plies. First of all, Plies is like, he made a song, Trump got 3 indictments or whatever. And I'm looking at the comments and people are like, Black people are like, we're gonna vote for him. Trump is my guy. Like,
That's
Trump
what
is
they're
my
afraid of
dude.
too.
They're helping that.
Exactly.
They're helping Trump to win at this point. People are actually saying, literally said, I'm gonna vote for him even if he's in jail.
Yeah. One thing I do fear, I mean, I just have a serious concern about this, is that if he is convicted and jailed, I really believe there will be civil war in this country. I really believe that. I just believe that, and I don't want to see it come to that. But again, when just one man is taking it to them in their face, defying, quote unquote, defying them, they are this focus, this laser focus on just getting him, come hell or high water. They don't care about the charges. You can see, you talk about two-tier justice system. This is not a justice system. This is not our American system. This is a perversion of it as well. But if Trump is convicted on any of these indictments and he goes to jail, and especially if it intersects with the election, and all hell is going to break out in the U.S.
I agree. And I mean, I think this charge is totally crap. But the classified documents charge has some teeth. When we look at the information that they've put out against him and the things that he said, that one has some teeth. But I agree with you, Shelley. I mean, I don't know what would happen if he is actually found guilty of this. I think the newest charge is an Obama appointed judge that is handling that case. So, and then we have Biden. So Biden, I mean, he's another one. You know, as I said at the top of the show, we have 2 of the front runners who may be impeached, who charges may be brought against them. You know, with these new evidence from the Biden case and the person who was on Burisma with Hunter Biden, what's his name, Devin Archer. Who just gave testimony in front of Congress this week. It sounds like Biden knew about Hunter Biden's escapades.
Of course he did.
Yeah, and he was all ready to go. So what are your thoughts on that? Those Devin Archer testimony?
I think more testimony needs to come out. We had the whistleblowers a couple of weeks ago, Devin Archer a couple of days ago. Biden, I believe, like you said, knew. Not only did he know, he was running the operation with his drug addict son. He was running the operation.
Shelley, you do that way too well.
I don't know, but that's what he was doing, snorting up the profits and using his political positions to as leverage to shake down people and companies in other countries.
Well, he wasn't just snorting though. Now we do have to be correct. We have to be literal on this show. He was also smoking. He smoked crack. He was a crack addict, and what they say on the street, a crackhead.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Yana.
But Biden?
Yeah, the Biden.
Well, they're mafia. That's the mafia family. That's the vibe that I'm getting from them. And right now they're running the country illegally. I think they're not legitimate. And they're afraid of a legitimate president, as we said. And they want to put the legitimate person, the legitimate leader in jail. That is what happens in countries, in tyrannical countries around the world. That's what happens in post-Soviet Union republics, where we have a mafia running the state, and then people who the citizens actually want to be in power end up in jail.
I want to get your thoughts on this, T. I mean, Yana said, as we say here in Baltimore City, ain't no fun if my homie doesn't get any. None. Ain't no fun if my homie doesn't get none. It's the Biden kind of saying. Biden said, if you're giving Hunter this money, you got to give me some. Do you agree with that?
Okay, we're all smart here, right? Let's think logically. Do we really think that Biden is the
big guy?
The big guy here? We've seen him
Only
talk.
Jill knows that.
She take it in the butt. Doing it in the butt.
I just want to finish my statement.
Go ahead.
That's all I want to do people. I don't know what's going on with my co-host today, but
Did you do it?
No, I didn't.
Anyway, do we really think that Biden is like, what do you call the mafia people at the top?
Godfather.
The Godfather here.
Yeah,
he can't even form a sentence. He can't even walk.
Yeah,
straight. Do we really think?
This
nowadays.
started years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
So who's taking it over right now?
Let me tell you something. According to the New York Post, Hunter Biden texted his daughter in 2019. He says, and I quote, "I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard." Pause. But don't worry. Unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary.
Wow.
Yes. So it's a prostitution ring. Like, I mean, not literally.
Yeah,
like hypothetically. But I don't think Biden is behind it. I don't think he's the smartest person in the world.
Do we still know what Burisma actually got? I know they got some connections and networking, but do we still know what Biden, I guess, did for Burisma in exchange for them paying him? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, he got the person, the prosecutor that was really on the necks of Burisma trying to prosecute them. He got him fired.
Right. I mean, before that, but what was Burisma giving in exchange? What were they getting in exchange for making the payments to his family?
He was getting access. So on November 1st, 2013, Hunter Biden and some of his friends created China BHR, a Chinese investment firm. So then President Biden traveled with Hunter Biden on Air Force Two to China and met the CEO. Shortly thereafter, Lee's business license was approved and Hunter Biden was magically a board member.
So I'm sure it was access. It was like all these connections.
But I was just wondering what tangibles maybe other than power and access, like maybe the business.
What else do
license
you need?
to do business in the USA. So they got a license that was approved to do business in the USA without all of the other, people knowing about it. That's what I was wondering.
And they get mad at President Trump for being a businessman.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's one thing about it. I mean,
It's not
Trump has
business, man.
formed, came up on his own, put in hard work and became this billionaire business person. His kids the same way. And then we have Hunter Biden who can't even string two sentences together. And he's on this board. He's getting millions of thousands of dollars transferred to him. It's all suspect.
This is when people have a problem with President Trump. They say when he gives his speeches, a lot of it is about himself. But I disagree with that. He's using himself as the example. Like he's told his audiences, they're coming after me, but this is really about you, America. Because again, this two-tiered supposed legal system, average Americans, we would never know about these things unless Trump, he's taking quote unquote the hit again. But if he's convicted on any of these charges, there will be hell in America.
Well, that's a part of the reason that they're coming after President Trump, because he's not a part of the establishment and he's exposing them for their shenanigans.
And as you said, there might be a civil war, but we talked about human trafficking, MAPS, the minor attracted persons, cannibalism. I mean, don't you think we need some sort of purge? Don't you think it's time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have been covering all of these topics from years to the last several years, and we will continue to cover them. But we are at the end of our show tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Yes, it was a wild show. We are a bunch of wild women. We're always wild, conservative and wild. No, we really fooled you.
Round up. You got me started.
Look like this. We really off camera. We're the same way.
Yes. So thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. Continue the conversation by checking us out on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and Instagram. And subscribe so that way you get up to the minute content when we post, and we certainly appreciate the support. We are an independent media, and each time you take the time to support us by sharing a video, by commenting, by sending this video in a messenger, it helps to make our voice that much stronger. and we are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. You can again check us out on our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Until then, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.